using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. Why? For inner and outer world peace through individual strength and feeling so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without. The best feeling podcast and the best feeling network. Your only no-nonsense podcast with your host, Herbie. This is How Go On. Good morning, welcome, wherever you are, whenever thou art. Good morning and welcome back. It is absolutely a Tuesday. It is Tuesday today, November 22nd, 2022. A Tuesday, which means on Pal Go On, as every Tuesday is, it is a True Love Tuesday. Again, we say it is a True Love Tuesday here on Pal Go On. And Pal Go On is we're discussing every day the relationship between ourselves and other topics, specifically on True Love Tuesdays, which is every Tuesday at 9 a.m. here on Pal Go On. Our theme is True Love, as in our theme today on True Love Tuesdays is the relationship between the two sexes, as it always is on True Love Tuesdays, and specifically today on November 22nd, 2022. The topic today, the theme of the day is Rose. Rose. As in, it is a True Love Tuesday, which means we're discussing the relationship between the two sexes. So we're talking about the roles of the two sexes. Good morning, wherever you are, whenever thou art. I hope you're feeling so great in that godlike body of yours and that godlike experience as we find ourselves in this simulation of ours that we all find ourselves in which we die every 5 minutes. But guess what? That timer is reset with every breath that you take. We hope that all throughout the show today and all throughout the day and the rest of your life, you will join us in holding that controller properly today in this simulation of ours in which we die every 5 minutes, but the timer is reset with the breath. How do we hold this controller properly today? How do we hold this controller properly today? Properly today. Well, we invite you and challenge you to pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips. Just a lit candle in front of your lips. Just a lit candle that in front of your lips, like a birthday candle that you're trying to not put out. And you're not thinking about inhaling or exhaling necessarily, simply that there's a candle in front of your lips flickering there and you're trying to not put it out. As we observe our sense of self, as we try to not put this candle out, we're not thinking about inhaling or exhaling, simply as we observe our sense of self. What is this sense of self? Of course, our sense of self as in when you close your eyes, you'll notice how your right eye feels different than your left eye, or how your left eye feels different than your right eye, RIP left eye. Or how when you close your eyes, you can still find, locate, and touch your nose with either of your hands or any of your body parts. Why? Because we have this sense of self, our sixth sense, actually, our kinesthesia, in which even with our eyes closed or senses deafened, we can know what the shape, size, and position of our body is like from the inside out. We're going to be talking about sex roles today. We're going to be talking about the roles of the sexes today. And are we just going to be talking about some heavy topics and leaving you high and dry? Or shall we be using some awesome, great body magic tricks to feel so good all throughout the show? Of course we shall, just like the candle that was being in front of your lips and we're trying to not put it out. Why are we talking about the roles of the sexes today on this True Love Tuesday, as we're always discussing the relationship between the two sexes on every True Love Tuesday? Why are we talking about the sex roles today? Well, because one surefire way to be miserable is to waste energy on the impossible. Holding ourselves to unrealistic expectations keeps us miserable, doesn't it? Doesn't it? When you think about it. Holding ourselves to unrealistic expectations keeps us miserable, but accepting reality for what it is. What is that? Accepting reality for what it is not a quick ticket to happiness, no. But it is the first step towards taking happiness into your own hands, you beautiful godlike creature, you. So today we shall be discussing the sex roles today in order to take happiness into our own hands today, as we use some great good old body magic tricks all throughout to feel so good from the inside out. Revisiting speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, Listen, which we discussed yesterday on Mover Monday. Good morning, everyone. It is absolutely November 22nd, 2022, a True Love Tuesday. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. We shall be starting up very soon. Use some body magic tricks to talk about the sex roles in order to take happiness back into our own hands, wherever you are, whenever thou art. Whether you are chilling in a car or whether you are about to fart, whether you are in a cafe or whether you are pushing a shopping cart. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome to the Best Feeling Podcast and the Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast with your host, Herbie. This is Pal Go On, every weekday morning at 9 a.m. What's going on? I hope you're doing well out there. We'll be right back after this short break, but only if you remember that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out, and observe your sense of self, wherever you are, as we blend into the symphony of sounds around you that is your life. Be right back. Drained? Depressed? Has the chaos of the world got you feeling confused and apathetic? Even gassy? Feeling like nothing gets you out of this funk? When you're feeling lost in the daily grind, left feeling meaningless, don't touch grass, touch the front of your shins. Feel less tired and more inspired with us on the Best Feeling Podcast. Pal, go on. Good morning, all you beautiful godlike creatures out there, whether you are watching us live in the morning here at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022, or whether you're out there watching us later in a video on demand, a VOD, like on YouTube or something. Good morning, or good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whenever thou art, whether you are chilling in a tree, whether you are chilling on top of your car, whether you are chilling in front of your driveway, or whether you're doing some work, tapping away on that keyboard, or writing away, or reading, wherever you are, whatever you are doing. I hope you are will join us in allowing all of these sounds to blend into the symphony that is your life, all the sounds around you, always staying present, as you might want to dive into whatever you're listening, but we encourage you to keep a soft focus and allow us to blend in with the sounds around you, always staying present by listening to 7 different things in the room, possibly to stretch our self-awareness like a muscle, as we tend to do on Pal Go On. Is that a bird outside? Is that the tapping of your foot on the floor? Is that the chatter of some neighbors around you? Was that the opening of a refrigerator? Was that the closing of a microwave that you hear? Is that your heartbeat that you hear inside of your body? Is that the scratching of your hair that you feel when you adjust your hair or when you take your headphones on or off? We'll be feeling so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without, here today on the Best Feeling Podcast in the Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast with her host, Herbie and Pal Go On. Good morning. It is absolutely November 22nd, 2022. It is a True Love Tuesday. We will be talking about the roles of the sexes here today, as every day on True Love Tuesday, which is every Tuesday on Pal Go On, where we will be discussing, as usual on True Love Tuesday, the relationship between the two sexes, all the while feeling so good from the inside out, using some good old body magic tricks to stay present. Where do we stay? Present. Say it with me. Present. Where do we stay? Say it with me. Present. Say it with me. Present. Who's here? Present. Good morning. All right, all right. I hope you're remembering to hold that controller properly with us today. Let's listen to the front of the shins like they're the speakers of the world. Let's leave those swallowing muscles alone. Let's pretend there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. You're not thinking about inhaling or exhaling. And as usual, all throughout, we shall be observing our sense of self, as the world is the paint, our bodies are the canvas, and we shall not look directly at the paint, but rather onto the body, onto the canvas, and watch how the body reacts to the paint that is being splashed onto it. As your whole body, your whole experience of life is filtered through this body of yours, is it not? So let's get it aligned. Let's get it feeling so good. Let's get it being in the moment. And let's stretch our self-awareness like a muscle, always staying present. That symphony of sounds around you. We are honored to be part of that, to be honest. So thank you very much. Hope you're feeling great out there. Or if you're not, feel free to chill out and stay with us. You can always revisit any of these episodes. Palgoan is a full body experience, everyone. So we do invite and challenge you to stay present this entire time while holding that controller properly today. We shall be talking about the roles of the sexes today. Why? Because one surefire way to be miserable in life, of course, is to waste energy on the impossible. Waste energy on futility. It is futile to try to do the impossible, and that's wasted energy, and that's a surefire way to feel miserable. Just like holding ourselves to unrealistic expectations throughout life will surely keep us miserable. But on the reverse, accepting reality for what it is not necessarily a fast ticket to happiness, but it is the first step towards taking happiness into your own hands so that you are in control. You can be happy when you want to be happy. You can feel at peace when you want to feel at peace. How? By accepting reality. Today we shall be talking about sex roles. You know? Like, I love being a man. I love being a man. It took me a while to realize how much I love being a man. Not because I would hate to be a woman, not because I hate women, but because you should love what you are. The question isn't, would you love being a man or would you love being a woman? No, that's not the question. But rather, would you rather love being what you are or would you rather not love being what you are? Again, the question is not, would you love being a man or would you love being a woman better? That is not the question. But rather, the question is, would you rather love being what you are, or would you rather not love being what you are? I, myself, obviously, am a man. It is No Shave November, so you can tell by my face and my voice and my spirit, obviously, that I am a man, and I love being a man. Just like as you, if you are a man, I hope you would love being a man. If you are a woman, I hope you would love being a woman. The question is not would you love being one or the other, but rather would you love being yourself or would you rather not love being yourself? As nature has already decided for you, which we'll find out very soon throughout this podcast today, this episode, that actually allows you for more freedom, for more happiness, accepting reality for what it is. As we know that one surefire way to be miserable is to waste energy on the impossible. So it took a while, and it takes a while for everyone to love being what they are. It's not an easy feat. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so much reverence. There wouldn't be so much honor and respect involved with people with such high confidence or people who love themselves. The question is not would you love being a man or would you love being a woman, but the question is would you rather love yourself or would you rather not love yourself? That is the question. Not because you would hate the other sex, not because you would hate being the other sex, but rather because you cannot be anything else. You are that. So much of the question these days is, what makes a man? What makes a woman? And right now in the world that we live in, so focused on the exterior as we are unable to feel so good from the inside out, we have such a hard time seeing ourselves. Seeing ourselves is one of the hardest things to do in life when you think about it, especially when you are emotionally riled up. It is incredibly difficult to see ourselves. Of course it is, as our eyes and most of our senses are facing outwards, especially all the senses that we speak about: sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. All of these senses we use to reach and understand and interact with the outside world. Most of our senses are facing outwardly. Except our sixth sense, as we've just discovered, is when we close our eyes, we can still detect the shape, size, and position of our body, even to the point of being able to understand the shape, size, and position of our own eyes and our eye sockets. You might want to observe that yourself as you pretend there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. and you're not thinking about inhaling or exhaling, whatever you're doing, whether you're drinking it from a cup or whether you're just sitting there or whether you're taking a run. We notice that we have this extra sixth sense of ours, which enables us to feel our own bodies, to feel ourselves, communicate with our own selves. Like literally, as we observe our sense of self, you can observe the shape, size, and position of each of your eyes, your left eye from your right eye from your left eye. Even with your eyes closed, you can identify your shape, size, and position of your eyeballs and locate them even with your eyes closed. Even with the senses that we use to interact with the outside world, even when those are closed off, we can still identify our own body using our own sixth sense, our kinesthesia, our sense of self. We are here. We are here. We are where? We are here. Your body being the most truthful and honest thing there is, as your body is not in the past, right? And your body is not in the future, but it is right here and right now. And so all throughout society and the world and Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, all over the internet right now and all of our channels of information right now, our obsession is with the physical, is with the shallow, is with the color of our skin, is with the organs of the body that quote unquote seem to make a man or a woman. Oh, you want to be man? Okay, well, what defines a man according to society right now? Well, defining a man is that you have it's a no nonsense podcast. You have a penis, right? And as a woman, you do not. You have a JJ. But is that all that makes a man? Is that all that makes a woman? Or is part of what makes being a man or behaving as such or believing as such, is part of being a man and is part of being a woman partly the fact that you did not get to choose as nature decided for you? Part of being a man, part of being a woman is the fact that you did not choose, and yet you still must deal with the consequences and learn how to thrive, how to do best for yourself immediately in the world, but also how to do best for the world, as we all have concerns for everything. We have concern for ourselves and what's good for ourselves, but we're also considering what's good for our family, what's good for our friends, what's good for the world. We are considering so many scopes of needs and desires. And so when we're looking for what's good for ourselves and how to progress and thrive in our own lives, part of being a man, part of being a woman is the fact that you did not get to choose, and then how you deal with those ends up creating the character that you are. How you deal with these unseen circumstances. How you deal with the fact that you did not choose to be a man, how you did not choose to be a woman, but that is your beautiful story, and we should love our own story. As your story is better than anyone else's because it is your story. You have immediate agency over this story. You have immediate influence over this story that you have, which is the story of you learning to deal and overcome and thrive despite having to deal with situations that you did not choose. For example, your sex. The fact that you are a man, the fact that you are a woman, but did not get to choose, the fact that you did not get to choose is integrated and wholly part of your story of becoming that best version of yourself. So I love being a man, but I didn't love it immediately. Or there were parts of my life that I didn't love it immediately. Same with being a woman, I'm sure. You would hope to love yourself, and so you would hope to love being a woman, but you did not get to choose. And all throughout your life, it was not even. You did not love yourself evenly throughout life. In fact, we're all still learning to do that more and more every single day. But that is the beauty, and that is the story of the life, is that we are all dealing with these circumstances, these fleshy bodies that we did not choose, and yet we learn to overcome and thrive despite it. How? Not by trying to do the impossible, but by accepting reality for what it is, so that we can begin to take happiness into our own hands. Part of being a woman, part of what makes it beautiful to be a woman, is the fact that you did not get to choose. It creates character. It creates your ability to process and digest the world, which is such a value and boon for others, because there are plenty of things in the world in which we do not choose. And your ability or your skill in being able to dissect your own mind and make certain decisions to still deal with that and still thrive for yourself and for all things you care about is part of what makes your character. Did you choose to be a man? No. But is that part of being a man? Yes. Did you choose to be a woman? But is that part of being a woman? Yes. If you got to choose, From the get-go, it is not the same story. It is not the same reality that we live in. We are just continuously being miserable as we are having unrealistic expectations on ourselves, trying to deal in a futile attempt of changing the impossible. People think that by living with quote unquote constraints, you have less freedom, but that couldn't be further from the truth. People think that by living with constraints, quote unquote constraints, you have less freedom, but this couldn't be true, further from the truth. Kind of like people think that, oh, just because you're a male, oh, there's constraints that you have to be such and such kind of thing in order to be a male. Oh, that's not freedom. So therefore I'm less happy. Or because I'm a woman, I have to act by certain such and such constraints set onto me by quote unquote society. And these constraints will make it so you have less freedom to be happy and peaceful in life, but that could not be further from the truth. Yes, it's true that there are constraints placed onto you by society, but those societal constraints, first of all, do not dictate what you individually choose in your mind, heart, spirit, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. But these constraints were first brought onto us by nature, as we again reiterate that part of being a man is the fact that you did not get to choose being a man. Part of being a woman is the fact that you did not choose to be a woman. So that gives you an automatic struggle that you are dealing with, but also an automatic amount of respect should you be able to deal with it properly. As in, you are learning to accept reality for what it is, and knowing that that is not the quick ticket towards happiness, that is not the quick ticket to being happy alone, but it is the first step towards taking happiness into your own hands, which is accepting reality for what it is. How much respect or how much freedom can you gain from trying to deny the reality of gravity existing? Should you try to jump off a building imagining that gravity does not exist? Likewise, how much freedom would you gain in your life should you try to deny the context that we live in which time moves one way, just waiting for yesterday to happen again? How much freedom do you have by disrespecting this reality that we live in? How much freedom do you actually have to move if you disregard these realities that we live in? If we disregard gravity, how much freedom do you actually have to move if you're not considering for gravity when we move our body? Of course, this happens on its own naturally, and we begin to associate and respect accepting reality with true freedom. People think that by living with these constraints, quote unquote, brought onto us by society and especially nature, people think that by living under these constraints, quote unquote, of what we expect men to be or what we expect women to be, they associate having those constraints with having less freedom, less happiness, less agency over being happy. But this could not be further from the truth. There are constraints on us all the time, like gravity and time, as we talked about. And another one is the fact that you are one of the sexes. You were born as one of the sexes. And so accepting those realities is the first step towards taking happiness into your own hands. No, these constraints actually do not clamp down on your freedom. Like pointing all four wheels of a car towards the same direction, we actually grant ourselves the ability to actually move meaningfully finally when we work within those limits. What causes unhappiness, the inability to move meaningfully throughout life, it's actually living with no constraints at all. That's what causes unhappiness, is living with no constraints at all. To have no constraints in your design, or rather to have no constraints in your decision making, is to have all of your wheels facing different directions. The stasis that your car is left in after that leaves your car useless, unable to move reliably into any direction at all. If all the wheels have no constraints at all and they're free to just whip in any direction, your car ends up just staying still. You actually make no meaningful movement. The lack of constraint in your wheels actually causes your car to be useless, immobile, unable to move meaningfully. A car with no constraints on its wheels at all is a car set against itself. Again, a car with no constraints on its wheels is a car set against itself. Too much quote unquote freedom in your car's wheels prevents any true freedom to actually manifest, to move your car any way that you actually care about. You don't actually want too much freedom. We actually get paralyzed by having too many choices, in the same way that if a car had all its wheels facing in every direction that the wheels choose, you actually have less freedom. Maybe you have more perceived individual freedom in each one of these wheels, but overall the meaningful amount of freedom to actually move anywhere becomes none, as all of your wheels basically set the car against itself by having too much freedom, too many options. There's never a lack of options for humans, as we always want to do everything. So the question does not become, what do you want to do? Humans want to do everything. The question is not, do you want to do stuff? The question is not, is there a lack of things to want to do? In actuality, when there are too many things that you want to do, we become paralyzed. Kind of like when someone says, hey, write a 3-page essay. Okay, and you're like, okay, that's okay. A 3-page essay, it's a lot of pages, or, it's a decent amount of pages. And you get stuck in your brain. You're just like, I don't know what to write. Write about anything. Okay. I need 3 pages though. Okay. But if they say write 3 pages about why smoking is bad, boom, there you go. You have some constraints which will allow you to actually have freedom to perform, to move meaningfully in a way that's satisfying, not just for you immediately, but continuously for the rest of your life. In the same way that holding a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out and observing your sense of self is both an immediate and continuous improvement in your life. Constraints on you allow you to actually move into a meaningful direction so that you can be satisfied, so that you can unleash your actual potential and actually see and feel the gratitude of your own, the actual effect of your own potential, and actually go after what is best for your own interest. Constraints, like constraints on the wheels of a car, actually allow us more freedom should the constraints be placed thoughtfully, so that we can actually achieve meaningful movement in our own lives in our best interest. As we know that our best interest is very rarely our immediate physical pleasures, as we know that those immediate physical pleasures are usually just escapes from the pain that we're feeling daily. As we know that even sadness, depression, anxiety, all those have a physical component in our bodies. How do you know that you're sad? How do you know you're depressed? How do you know you're anxious? How do you know you're jealous? There's a physical component in your body. And so all physical pleasures tend to be just numbing those, at least if we're idolizing those physical pleasures, tend to just be numbing those lack of ability to feel good from the inside out. As we know that sadness, depression, anxiety, jealousy, all those kind of vices have a physical component. So our physical pleasures that we end up idolizing over our greater, better interest for ourselves tend to just be numbing our pain, as we do not feel peace from within. So there's never a lack of things we want to do, but having too many things we want to do tends to paralyze our movement, the same way if your wheels of a car had too many directions they wanted to go, end up paralyzing your car and making it sit in the same place, reducing the usefulness of this car to basically nil, unable to get you to move anywhere meaningfully. Why should we look at our sex roles? Why should we look at our quote unquote gender roles? As we know that accepting reality is the first step towards taking happiness into your own hands, as in accepting the fact that all the wheels must be in an agreeable direction in order for your car to actually make movement. Well, no, in the same way that having all of your wheels pointed in the same direction is the first step towards your car actually having any potential to make any meaningful movement anywhere. We shall be discussing a little bit more about why to integrate with the truths of these sex roles. As part of being a man was the fact that you did not get to choose, and yet you get to choose how to go about that. And part of being a woman is the fact that you did not get to choose to be a woman, but you do get to choose by how to go about that. And that creates our character. That ends up giving us more freedom to act more meaningfully as we feel more gratification for actually moving meaningfully towards getting something towards our best interest. Today, here on True Love Tuesday, we'll be back after this short break to discuss more about these roles, these sex roles, here on True Love Tuesday as we discuss the relationship between the two sexes at all times here on Pal Go On. We'll be right back after this short break. Thank you for joining us here today. I hope you're allowing all these sounds to go in one ear and out the other as they blend into the symphony of sounds around you. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. We'll be right back after this short break on the Best Feeling Podcast and the Best Feeling Network. Really No Nonsense Podcast with Herbie. Here on Pal Go On. We'll be right back after this short break. Only remember that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And observe your sense of self, you beautiful, godlike creature, you. Tried all the vitamins and gummies that claim they're going to be boosting your mental capabilities, your physical performance, your behaviors in life? Tried them and then felt motivated yet slightly confused and cautious? I mean, are the effects even real or are they a placebo? Are you achieving what you think you are achieving or is it imagination? Do you have all this energy now or is that imagination too? Be done with placebos. Be done with uncertainty. Isn't it so draining to be uncertain? You can't even begin to gain confidence in what you're doing. How about some actionable specific advice instead? Take this gummy, feel the front of your shins. Bam! That one's free. Take Palgoan with you wherever you go, whenever you go, and feel so good from the inside out. Welcome back to the Best Feeling Podcast, the Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast with your host, Herbie. This is Pal Go On. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever thou art. I hope you are taking this time to stay present with us at all times by letting us blend into the symphony of sounds that are around you. As you know that Palgoan is a full body experience, we encourage you to stay present, allowing us to simply blend and melt into the sounds around you, never staying away from the present, but staying right where your body is. As we're using some body magic tricks, I hope you're remembering to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you observe your sense of self. Your good old sense of self, as in how when you close your eyes, you still know the shape, size, in your body, shape, size, and position of your body. Like how even with your eyes closed, you can notice that your left eye is different from your right eye. And when your eyes close, you can still tell how your right eye feels different than your left eye if we are feeling our eye sockets today. Good morning and welcome back. Today is Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022, a True Love Tuesday here on Pal Go On. The question today is about the roles of the sexes. As the True Love Tuesday, we are always speaking about the relationship between the two sexes. And the question isn't, would you love being a man or would you love being a woman? But rather, would you love being what you are or would you rather not love being what you are? Would you rather love being who you are or would you rather not love being who you are? You are thrust into this flesh, this body, and part of being a man is the fact that you did not get to choose. And part of being a woman is the fact that you did not get to choose. But how you choose about going about that defines you. And so are we choosing to reject reality in the same way that we would try to reject the idea that all the wheels of a car should be in an agreeable direction in order for the car to move anywhere meaningfully? Are we rejecting that idea and trying to move this car while still forcing all the wheels to go in opposite directions and still expecting the car to move? Are we demonstrating or practicing an effort are we demonstrating an effort in futility by rejecting the simple nature of a car being able to move with all of the wheels going in the same direction? Or are we choosing to accept reality and accept the reality that the wheels must be in an agreeable direction in order for the car to make movement, and then using that to actually move into meaningful directions for our lives? Are we choosing to make an effort into futility, or are we choosing to accept reality so that we can take happiness into our own hands? There's never a lack of things that we want to do, but we paralyze ourselves by having too many options. Too much freedom in this way can actually set ourselves against ourselves. We can set our car against itself, against our own best interest. Having too many options, like having freedom in the wrong ways, like having too much freedom in the wheels, actually prevents us from actually achieving any meaningful freedom in our best interest. So how do we know which constraints actually grant us more meaningful freedom? Well, luckily for us, nature decides that for you. And yes, it's not hard for us to decide, or it's not hard for us to find things that we want to do. It's not hard for us to find things that we want to do, but we often paralyze ourselves by having too many options, having too many things that we want to do. We don't doubt our abilities so much as we doubt the directions that we take will actually take us anywhere. We doubt the good that will come to us from the directions that we choose. Like the doubt we would have if all the wheels of our car were pointing in different directions. We'd have a lot of doubt in the ability for that car to move in any meaningful way, to take us anywhere meaningful that we actually care about. We fear the uncertainty of too many options, actually. We fear our wheels having too many options, causing us to be in stasis, causing our car to move nowhere. We actually fear being unable to move meaningfully in our own best interest. Life is short. So we want to make sure that the decisions that we make are actually meaningful to us in our best interest. Life is short, so we want to make sure that the decisions that we make are actually moving us towards our best interest. It's not hard to find things to make decisions about. It's not hard to find things that we want to do. But seeing as our life is short, we actually end up becoming into a state of in a state of confusion, rather, a state of paralysis as we try to take too many directions, unsure if any of them will actually bring us any good that we want. So instead of being in a previous place maybe that humans might have been where there weren't enough options of things to choose or things to do, we're in this interesting scenario right now where there's just so many things to concern ourselves with, so many things to do, but everything you do means that you're not doing something else. And how do we know that what we're going to do is actually going to give us any good? We actually end up paralyzing ourselves by having too many options. And our brains are so freaking crazy smart, you crazy smart, beautiful godlike creature you, that you end up taking all these hypothetical pathways of where this might lead you, where that might lead you, under this circumstance, under that worldview. But how do you know if any of those are going to be good for you? It's not so much that we get depressed by being unable to do, but we get depressed and anxious by thinking that what we want to do will not actually return us in any way, positive way, reliable way, in any good. So why should we go down that road? Why should we go down that road if it's not going to feel good for us in the future? If it's not going to make us feel good from the inside out? Why should we do that? Why should we do this? If society says does this, if society says do that, why would we do any of that if we weren't sure that it was going to give us any possible good returns? Why would we let our wheels go in every direction? Why would we let our wheels go in the forward direction? Why not let our wheels go in every which way? Well, as we know, if all the wheels were going in every which way, your car actually moves nowhere. Your car actually moves nowhere meaningful that you actually care about. Learning to love our constraints. Learning to love the sex you are, as nature has decided that for you. Learning to love your constraints, learning to love the sex that you are, is to love the wheels all facing the same direction. It is to move meaningfully. It is to move meaningfully in a direction for your best interest. Again, learning to love your constraints, learning to love the sex you are, as that is a constraint, as many of us would see, that we didn't get to choose. Well, that is to love the wheels of your car facing the same direction. That is to love the ability to move in a meaningful way towards your best interest. It ends up being in such a weird, almost paradoxical way. Learning to love your constraints actually means learning to love the ability to actually move forward in a meaningful direction for yourself. As we are allowing all of these words to go in one ear and out the other, as we're staying present at all times. Luckily, nature decides for us what this design is. As in, it decides where you go with that car? No, but rather, nature decides for you that it is the case that if you want your car to move, all these wheels must be facing the same direction. And as we know, one surefire way to be miserable is to waste energy on the impossible. If your wheels are all facing in conflicting directions, it is impossible for your car to move. And yet, should we accept, or should we subscribe to the idea that although our wheels are all facing the opposite directions, we should still be able to move? Should we decide to take up that influence in our lives? It'd be a surefire way towards being miserable as you are wasting energy on the impossible, should you think that your car should still be able to move while rejecting this simple reality that your wheels all must be facing the same way. Are we stressed out in our lives because there aren't enough things to do? Or are we stressed out in our lives because we cannot decide which of those things to do? We don't really doubt our ability to work under very, very, very small constraints. But what constraints are those? What constraints are those? Well, as we all know, we did not decide this body that we are living in. And that is part of what makes our character as we decide how to go about making sure all these wheels go forward so that we can move meaningfully. What the heck does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Well, as we are trying to move meaningfully for ourselves in our best interest, should we try to move meaningfully for ourselves in our best interest? Shouldn't we work on adjusting towards accepting the reality of directing these wheels forward as nature has defined for us? As in, you are a man. And there are constraints on that. You are a provider. You are the rock. It is your duty to deal with your emotions in such a way in that they can wash over you and you can deal with them from the inside out, having a strong relationship to your design such that you can wash out all those negative feelings so that you can continue to be a rock, a provider, the protector. Oh, but I want to do this. I want to do that. Nature has already decided. You are this male, or you are this female. And so now the question does not become, would you rather love being a female more? Or would you rather love being a male more? That is not the question. That is like saying, would you rather move with your car's wheels all facing the same direction? Or would you rather move with all of your car's wheels facing in opposite directions? It's a nonsensical term, as your car will not move. The question is, do you want to move or do you not want to move? The question is, do you want to love yourself or do you not want to love yourself? As everything good that you want, everything good that has been created or even thought of to this point, was conceived, was created by a car that moved from point A to point B to make that happen. And that happened by accepting the reality that the wheels must be facing in an agreeable direction for your car to move. As in, your car must be accepting reality that that is the way physics works for your car to move. As in, that is your spirit, your soul, your emotions, your physicality accepts the reality of the body that it's in order to move as best as possible. Men being the physically stronger, physically built different in that literally their body is not half dedicated to nurturing another body, but more of their body is dedicated, all of their body is dedicated to just being responsible for that body. And so certain responsibilities in life fall upon that body as it is the tool suited for the job. To be the protector, to be the provider, to be the outwardly more working body. Whereas the female is the more inwardly working body. Is it a different level of human spirit that is required? No. But it is a different design in which that nature has thrust upon them. It is a different design that nature has thrust upon them. And so while males being the providers, being the protectors, being the physical, outwardly projecting physical bodies, women are the inwardly projecting bodies, inwardly energy projecting bodies for nurturing, for literally creating another human life in which some of their body is dedicated to another human life. So of course it's not as suited as another body that is completely responsible for only its own body. So of course it's going to be used more physically towards outwardly things compared to the female body, which is more associated and more natured towards caring about the self. Because there's literally another body that's going to be created in there. Their tool is better for caring about the self. So what are the roles that they are good at? Or what are the roles are they most suited for? Well, knowing about the human body as their energy is naturally directed towards the inward world. And so they know more about the inward world. Is that a hateful thing on men that they cannot do that? Or is it simply the design of nature that we choose to either reject, like trying to move a car while having the wheels facing in opposite directions, or the design that we accept, like having the wheels all facing the same direction of a car to actually achieve some meaningful movement in the world? The question is not, would you rather love being a man or would you rather love being a woman? The question is, would you rather love being yourself or would you rather not love being yourself? Would you rather have your car move? Would you rather have your car not move? And your car moves when accepting the reality of how wheels function in order to move this car. And your car does not move when we reject the reality of how the wheels will cause this car to move. We'll be right back after this short break. We hope that you're staying so present today as Palgawan is a full body experience as we're leaving the swallowing muscles alone, observing our sense of self, and speak listening. We'll be right back after this short break. We hope you're able to speak, listen, 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 speak. listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. We have a recommended book reading list. If you feel like you have a hard time understanding yourself at this stage in your life, check out No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert A. Glover. It's an aggressive title, but a very meaningful book when it comes to understanding the self, both men and women, masculinity and femininity. So you'll see it first in yourself, then throughout the world, so it brings peace through understanding. Do you suffer from a mental illness that you want to actually do something about? Or do you just want to be able to change your patterns and behaviors in life? Check out that book with the girl with holding her hand up. It's an amazing book. The Body's Map of Consciousness, Volume 1, Movement, by Lansing, Barrett, Gresham, and Julie J. Nichols. Do you have body or neck aches throughout the day or throughout the night? And gone to chiropractors and just been frustrated with not being able to get a permanent fix? Check out the purple book, The Structures and Movement of Breathing, by Barbara Conable, and Anatomy of the Voice by Theodore Dimon for a more detailed look. There, that book on the left, and take charge in getting your relief back. All these books are highly recommended and pretty short and just freaking phenomenal books. Beyond impressive, incredible, ridiculous, awesome, stupendous, prodigious. Welcome back to the Best Feeling Podcast, Best Feeling Network, your only no-nonsense podcast with your host, Herbie Palgawan. We hope you had a fantastic break, always staying in the moment, as we know that Palgawan is a full-body experience. We hope that you are allowing all these sounds to blend into the symphony of the sounds that are around you, always staying present in this simulation of ours in which we die every 5 minutes. But that timer is reset with every breath that you take. We hope you're holding your controller properly with us today in order to feel so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without. We're all love. As we know here, that love is truth, love is non-judgment, love is naming without blaming, which is the truth. As if you can name and if you can observe without the component of emotionality, we are closer to the truth, which is we are closer to love. And these days, people might say, I'm not getting good in my life. I'm not getting the good I want in my life. How come people disrespect me? How come people don't respect my wishes? How come I'm not getting the good I want? How come I don't get what I want? Why? Why don't I get the good that I want? Why don't I get the good that I want? Possibly because we are trying to resist reality. We're not accepting reality. We're choosing to believe that our car can still move while the wheels are facing in conflicting directions. If you saw someone out there trying to explain to you or trying to get upset with you for not understanding why this car should still move even though the wheels are not constrained to moving forward, but the wheels are going in every which direction, how come my car is not moving reliably and satisfyingly into the direction that I want? How much faith would you have in them believing in reality? How much faith would you have in this person should they still be trying to their last dying breath to cause this car to move gracefully, although they still believe that the wheels should still be allowed to point in any direction they want, and they still want this car to move? How much faith would you have in this person's ability to understand and accept reality? Which would mean that they would understand and accept the ability to spread love, spread truth. And how much love and how much compassion do you share with people who are forcing this car to try to move while the while the wheels are facing in opposite directions or in conflicting directions? How much faith do you have that they understand basic reality and want to achieve the most happiness and achieve the most good, not just for themselves but others, if they are resisting the basic reality of how a car functions? How much faith would you have in them over that? And yet we still see ourselves in the positions of like, how come people aren't helping me? How come people aren't respecting my decisions? Well, how much respect would you have for someone's decision, for someone who still believes that they can bend reality to their own will and try to make this car move despite the tires and wheels facing in directions that state that clearly this car will not move? And are we trying to spread love and truth? Of course we are. Love being truth, love being balance, love being non-judgment, love being being able to name the truth without blaming the truth, as we know that when you add the emotional component of blaming, you get further from the truth, as emotions tend to cloud the truth with our own projections. One surefire way to be miserable is to waste energy on the impossible. How willing are we to help people who are not willing to help themselves? How much good faith are we willing to give people who are not giving good faith to the reality that we live in, such that defines the way a car will move as if all the tires and wheels are facing in the proper directions? And so with our car being decided by nature itself, luckily we don't have to make the decision of which sex we are, but we get to decide of how we choose to go about this decision that we did not make, this body that you are in. You did not get to choose to be a man, but how you go about this defines your ability to get the greatest good in your life as you work meaningfully towards being a man. You did not get to choose being a woman, but your character is defined, your ability to get good in your life is defined by the way you choose to go about the fact that you did not get to choose to be a woman. And yet here you are. Yet here we are with our tools being different, although we inhabit the same spirit of the human race. Our tools being different as nature has decided, as one of our bodies are more suited to deal with the outside world, and another one of our bodies are more suited to deal with the inside world. And the more good that we want in our lives tend to be going with leaning into the curve. As you did not get to choose to be that, but you get to choose to be how good of that you are. How well do you use this tool of yours? How well do you use this body of yours? How well do you use this short life of yours? By rejecting reality and having your car move nowhere, or by accepting reality and having your car move everywhere it wants to? By accepting the fact that you are this beautiful, godlike nurturer with a gift towards understanding the self, or the good that you will get from understanding your nature, that your body is meant to be used for the outside world, as it is not separated into another part of your body that's meant to nurture the inside world? How much good do we get by leaning into the curve, accepting the sex roles that we are, and becoming so great at it so that the world can see the value that comes from being good at the tool? Not using a hammer to get rid of a staple, but using a hammer to pound a nail down. Using the correct tool for the job. Accepting reality for what it is not a quick ticket to happiness, but it is the first step towards taking happiness into your own hands. We hope that you have had a fantastic time today discussing the roles of the sexes, why we should lean into those roles, and how part of how part of that role is the fact that you did not get to choose which role, but you get to choose how well you do get to perform in that role. The question is not, would you love to be a man or would you love to be a woman? But rather, would you love being what you are, or would you rather not love being what you are? The question is not, would you rather love being a woman, or would you rather love being a man? But the question is, would you rather your car actually make meaningful movement and be valuable to the world? Or would you rather your car try to force a different reality onto reality and move nowhere, being unvaluable as a car in the world? As we often wonder why we're getting the treatment or why we're getting the respect or the lack of respect that we are getting, we ask ourselves, as we speak, listen, we ask ourselves, are we being valuable by using this gift, this tool that we are placed in, although we did not decide it? Or are we resisting the reality of what tool we were thrust into by nature? We hope you are being so present as we are on this Tuesday. We hope that you're remaining so present to feel so godlike in that great body of yours. As we are staying so present, allowing all these sounds to blend into the symphony of sounds around you. As we know, Pal Go On is a full body experience. We hope that you are observing your sense of self today. We hope you're observing your sense of self today as we integrate towards our roles so that we can integrate towards more of our decisions being meaningful movements towards our greatest interest, as our greatest interest is also in part decided by the design in which you were thrust into. The question isn't, would you love being a man or would you rather love being a woman? The question is, would you rather love yourself or would you rather not love yourself? Let's bring value to ourselves and the world for the good of ourselves and for the best interest of ourselves and the world immediately, in the moment today, to feel so good right now as every part of your life has this physical component that we're most concerned with most immediately, which is how your body feels today, as we are accepting and going towards more of the order, not the chaos, as we are placing all the weight on the body towards the front of the spine, truthfully of where it belongs, into these rainbow arches, as you'll see behind me, at all times, and remembering that we do not sit on our legs, observing our sense of self. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Warfare Wednesday. We hope you have had a great time chilling with us today. Thank you for the likes, the comments, subscribes. Please keep them coming. We need all the support we can get to push Pal Go On forward. We want to spread the good news. We're here to spread the good news, spread the truth, spread love. As we know, love is naming without blaming. Love is withholding all judgment. As we know, humans are not capable of judging things very well, but we can withhold our judgment in order to love more, in order to see more of the truths, in order to make more meaningful movement with our cars throughout life, for ourselves immediately, for everything we care about. Please remember there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out as we hold our controller properly today. You're not thinking about inhaling or exhaling necessarily. As we observe our sense of self, breathing in life happens on its own. As you speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, listen. This has been the Best Feeling Podcast and the Best Feeling Network. Your only no-nonsense podcast with your host, Herbie. Pal Go On. See you tomorrow.